Today, I'm revealing 6 principles, not concepts, not worn-out sayings. Principles that forge winners. What paralyzes most individuals before they ever take a single step? The conviction that someone else must first select them. Selected by an organization, selected by another human being, selected by an audience, selected by the world at large. We linger, sometimes for endless years, praying someone will authorize us to embrace our own magnificence. During that lingering, existence slips away, possibilities evaporate, aspirations wither. We transform into observers of our own capacity. Yet here stands the reality people dodge because it causes discomfort. Nobody's arriving to hand you authorization. Nobody owes you confirmation of your significance. The instant you grasp this, not merely with your mind, but with your instincts, you cease wavering and begin transforming. Because selecting yourself isn't hubris, it's accountability. If you don't trust in your value initially, what reason does anyone else have? When you select yourself, you spark something extraordinary, a dedication to forge your own road, even when the world hasn't recognized you yet. That action by itself distinguishes you from the masses, who waste their existence, hoping to be found instead of determining to ascend. Most individuals undervalue how profoundly programming shapes this tendency to linger. From our earliest years, we're programmed to pursue validation. Gold stars, marks, recognition. Every milestone gets measured by external benchmarks. We absorb the lesson that worthiness exists only when others declare it so. It's subtle yet catastrophic, that reliance trails us into maturity. Perhaps you identify it within yourself. You possess concepts but remain silent until invited to speak. You harbor aspirations but postpone action until someone provides encouragement. You hold gifts but conceal them until someone takes notice. Lingering transforms into routine, wasted moments masquerading as forbearance. Yet underneath that programming exists an intuition, a recognition that you were designed for greater things. But intuitions perish in quietness. They require motion to endure. The instant you select yourself, that intuition awakens. It recalls your power. It recalls your abilities. It recalls that your authority was never intended to be delegated to anyone else. Selecting yourself demands bravery. Not theatrical, attention-grabbing bravery, but consistent, methodical bravery. Bravery to advance when nobody's applauding. Bravery to appear reliably when nobody's observing. Bravery to believe your inner voice when uncertainty roars louder than faith. Selecting yourself signifies you might journey solo temporarily. It signifies you might encounter refusal, ridicule, confusion. It signifies you might sacrifice individuals who felt at ease with your diminished state. But the alternative route, the route of lingering, contracting, muting, extracts far more. Selecting yourself delivers control over your fate. Lingering surrenders that authority to situations, and nothing remarkable was ever achieved by someone who lingered courteously for authorization. Excellence requires boldness. Even when your limbs tremble and your voice quivers, advancing regardless is the proclamation that announces, I refuse invisibility in my own existence. Some will protest, but I'm not prepared yet. That declaration is the most compelling proof that they must select themselves right away, because preparation is fiction. No competitor feels prepared before their inaugural match. No business builder feels prepared before their first offering. No artist feels prepared before they reveal their creation. Preparation doesn't come before movement. Movement generates preparation. Selecting yourself isn't about possessing all knowledge or ensuring victory. It's about willingness to commence despite ambiguity. The paradox is that the world typically recognizes you after you select yourself. People sense the certainty behind your choices. Forward motion draws notice. But until you make that initial move, nobody perceives you because you haven't perceived yourself. When you announce your own significance internally, the world mirrors it externally, not beforehand. There will also be individuals who label you self-centered. They'll claim you're excessively driven, excessively assured, excessively dedicated. That's because they've been programmed to emphasize being favored over being satisfied. Selecting yourself disrupts anticipations. It confronts unspoken arrangements that maintain people diminished, Grasp this. Selecting yourself doesn't signify disregarding others. It signifies declining to desert your capacity to satisfy their ease. You can still cherish profoundly, nurture profoundly, assist profoundly, but not at your purpose's cost. When you respect your mission, you authorize others to respect theirs. Your choice transforms into a reflection showing them the authority they've delayed. Selecting yourself isn't self-centered. It's the most accountable expression of self-regard. It establishes a benchmark. It conveys that your hours, your abilities, your aspirations aren't negotiable extras. They're essentials. Eventually, you comprehend something revolutionary. The world doesn't select leaders initially. It acknowledges them after they've selected themselves. Every advancement, individual, occupational, spiritual, originates with a private choice. An instant where nobody celebrates, no attention shines, no assurance exists. Just a silent certainty that murmurs, I was designed for greater things. And when you respect that voice, the world reacts in unpredictable ways. Possibilities synchronize. Individuals emerge. Pathways unlock that stayed sealed when you were awaiting authorization. Not because the cosmos suddenly shifted, but because you did. You transitioned from inactivity to authority, from hoping to deciding, from lingering to transforming. That transition is compelling. So if you're absorbing this, sitting on a concept, an aspiration, a vision you've persuaded yourself isn't achievable yet, grasp this. Nobody will ever deliver your instant to you. You must seize it. And when you accomplish that, people will question how you suddenly gained assurance, when the reality is you simply ceased requesting permission to exist fully. Select yourself. That choice is the ignition that converts capacity into authority. We exist in a reality fixated on flawlessness. Meticulously arranged photographs, pristine credentials, immaculate triumph narratives presented in highlight compilations and refined chronologies. Somewhere during our journey, we absorb the lesson to conceal our injuries. We enter our heart hatch, our defeats, our errors, because we dread they render us undesirable, undeserving of respect, possibilities, affection. But the paradox is harsh. The precise experiences we attempt hardest to eliminate are the ones that constructed our fortitude. Every mark is validation that you endured what was designed to shatter you. It's testimony of stamina, of power acquired through adversity. Pretending your existence has been effortless isn't motivating. It's hollow. Your marks are your narrative. They're the segments people require hearing. Because when you communicate from anguish converted into authority, others perceive potential where they previously witnessed only hopelessness. Your openness transforms into a connection. It welcomes someone else to trust that restoration and excellence can exist together. Pretending you've never collapsed doesn't raise you. Revealing how you emerge does. You understand anguish reconstructs you. It compels you to uncover dimensions of yourself you never realized existed. When existence destroys your anticipations, when treachery injures you, when defeat crushes what you trusted was your aspiration, there exists a moment of death. Not physical death, but the death of an identity, an illusion, an attachment. From that instant you face a decision. Let the anguish define you or let it reconstruct you. Some individuals permit anguish to imprison them. They relive their wounds endlessly, awaiting resolution that never arrives. They grasp bitterness, permitting acrimony to deteriorate their capacity. But others, those who emerge, they employ anguish as propulsion. They inquire, what is this instructing me? What can I construct from this? Who can I transform into because of this? Transformation never occurs in ease. Development demands friction, disillusionment, heart touch. The power that surfaces is authentic, not rehearsed. Once you've traversed flames, the heat no longer frightens you. You cease dreading loss because you've experienced loss previously. You cease dreading uncertainty because you survived it. Marks don't render you delicate. They render you intrepid. Every influential narrative throughout existence shares the identical pattern: hardship, conflict, renewal. The character isn't captivating because they experienced a flawless existence. They're captivating because they faced suffering and selected transformation instead of capitulation. This isn't coincidental. It's a universal design. Humans burn through adversity, not flawlessness. When you conceal your marks, you sever connection from the individuals who require your narrative. Consider the individuals who've motivated you most. Were they impeccable? Or did they expose their anguish transparently, demonstrating that victory isn't about evading suffering, but rising above it? When we pretend we've never been fractured, we steal from others the optimism that they too can ascend from their shadows. Perhaps the segments of your narrative you avoid recognizing are precisely the ones someone else is desperate to hear. Perhaps your restoration can transform into someone else's guide. But first, you must cease apologizing for your injuries. They aren't disgrace. They're insight encrypted in experience. There arrives a point where you recognize that marks aren't indicators of fragility. They're emblems of endurance. They designate the conflicts you withstood, the selections you executed when surrendering appeared simpler, the fortitude constructed through silent evenings of uncertainty and hopelessness. You possess teachings that cannot be purchased, only obtained. When you reveal your marks, not as justifications but as evidence, you reclaim your account. You cease being characterized by what occurred to you and begin characterizing yourself by how you reacted. And understand clearly, how you react is the most influential tool of transformation you control. Anguish doesn't automatically generate power. Anguish generates selections. Many individuals enter their injuries, numbing themselves into mediocre existences. But those who emerge select significance. They transform suffering into intention. They convert their narrative into a mission. They communicate not to dazzle but to influence. They guide not from superiority but from experience. Your legitimacy isn't constructed by flawlessness. It's constructed by conquering. Yet embracing your marks doesn't signify glorifying adversity or pretending wounds were essential or beneficial. Anguish is authentic. Loss is unjust. Treachery injures profoundly. Restoration isn't straightforward, and fortitude isn't spontaneous. Recognizing that reality is part of what renders marks influential emblems. When you accept that you were injured, that you fractured, that you struggled, and you still persisted, that's where power originates. Too many individuals trust that recognizing anguish renders them fragile. So they repress, diminish, disconnect. But emotion unrecognized transforms into captivity. Liberation commences when you articulate your narrative honestly. When you provide voice to the experiences that constructed you. Not to linger but to reclaim your authority. To announce, I'm not characterized by what occurred to me. I am characterized by who I transformed into because of it. Restoration demands bravery far superior to rejection. Anyone can fabricate. Few can confront themselves with sincerity, and those who accomplish this access authority that cannot be confiscated. So when you contemplate your marks, the wounds, the errors, the defeats, the disillusions, don't rush to mask them. Stand with them. Possess them. Comprehend that they are the portions of your narrative that grant you authority to communicate, to guide, to motivate. They're the validation that your power is authentic, not theoretical. They're the foundation of compassion, fortitude, intention. The world doesn't require another flawless triumph narrative. It requires individuals who've traversed obscurity and surfaced with understanding and certainty. Your marks aren't barriers to your future. They're testimony. You're equipped for it. Someone somewhere requires the power you obtained from what attempted to annihilate you. Someone requires witnessing that marks can be magnificent. Someone requires hearing your narrative so they can discover the bravery to reconstruct theirs. Your marks aren't the conclusion of your narrative. They're the commencement of your authority. Discipline is the silent influence that divides who you are from who you could transform into. It resides in the ordinary, disregarded instance when nobody's observing, when temptation murmurs, when ease beckons, when justifications feel legitimate. Intention by itself cannot convert you. Longing isn't sufficient. Aspirations without discipline dissolve. Every objective ever accomplished was achieved through reliable, often agonizing choices executed when inspiration was missing. That's the reality most individuals evade. The primary barrier between you And the existence you desire isn't absence of possibilities. It's absence of disciplined execution. People idealize triumph yet refuse the daily ease required to construct it. Discipline demands forfeit. It demands you select long-term identity over brief indulgence. In that selection, repeated relentlessly, you reconstruct your character. You demonstrate to yourself that you respect your pledges. That demonstration becomes the foundation of unbreakable assurance. The fiction about discipline is that it demands superhuman capacity. But discipline isn't theatrical or noisy. It exists in the minor choices accumulated over duration. It's awakening when you declared you would, even when the bed feels inviting and rest offers temptation. It's adhering to the strategy after the enthusiasm diminishes. It's emphasizing your development when diversions disguise themselves as responsibilities. The individuals who convert aren't the ones with exceptional gifts or boundless resources. They're the ones who select reliability over force. Anyone can aspire elevated momentarily, but discipline is what maintains the aspiration steady long after the excitement vanishes. That's what constructs identity. Every repeated movement casts a ballot for the variety of individual you transform into. When you appear for yourself daily, you don't merely construct abilities, you construct trust. That trust alters your benchmarks. When your benchmarks ascend, your existence follows. We often muddle intention with movement. We confuse strategizing for advancement. We feel efficient envisioning the future, but remain motionless because envisioning is simpler than performing. Authentic development commences the instant you cease bargaining with justifications. Discipline eliminates bargaining. It substitutes emotion-controlled choices with identity-controlled ones. You cease behaving based on how you sense in the instant and begin behaving based on who you're transforming into. This transition is everything. It reconstructs the connection between exertion and compensation. Suddenly, discomfort transforms into testimony of advancement instead of something to escape. When you comprehend that resistance isn't a signal to cease, but a sign you're developing, you liberate yourself from previous designs. Without discipline, even the most powerful intention crumbles at the initial indication of challenge. With discipline, even the smallest intention can accumulate into unstoppable forward motion. There will be occasions when discipline feels unachievable, occasions when exhaustion presses heavily, when uncertainty murmurs poisonous realities, when advancement feels invisible. Those are the instants that characterize you, because discipline isn't examined when everything feels synchronized. It's examined when nothing does, when advancement is gradual and appreciation feels remote, when defeat ridicules you and others question you. Discipline inquires whether your dedication survives discomfort. Anyone can behave disciplined for 7 days. Few maintain it for months or years. Yet the division between dreamers and accomplishers resides in one simple reality. Accomplishers persist through resistance. They collapse but return, fail but recommit, struggle but stay reliable. Discipline is not flawlessness, it's endurance. It's selecting better even after selecting poorly. Self-restoration through movement. You may stumble, but discipline demands you return. That return is what alters fate. The magnificence of discipline is that it liberates you. Many assume discipline constrains, but the reverse is accurate. Lack of discipline imprisons you in patterns of remorse and unreliability. Absence of discipline compels you to depend on inspiration, fortune, or external confirmation. When you master discipline, you reclaim authority of your account. You no longer depend on motivation or flawless situations. You believe yourself because you possess testimony. Your movements mirror your intentions. Discipline constructs integrity between who you declare you are and how you actually exist. That integrity emancipates you from internal conflict. You cease questioning whether you can accomplish your vision because you observe yourself transforming into the variety of individual who does. And that synchronization between intention, movement, and identity is one of the most influential states a human can attain. So comprehend this. Discipline is not a tool to accomplish your objectives. It's the identity that renders accomplishment unavoidable. It's not something you occasionally execute. It's someone you transform into. Every expression of discipline reconstructs your internal account, reinforcing the trust that you're capable, deserving, and in authority of your transformation. When discipline transforms into who you are, triumph ceases being a potential and transforms into a result. It's the connection between intention and identity, between capacity and embodiment. Your reliability inscribes the narrative your aspirations demand. Discipline is the choice to respect your future self again and again until the world acknowledges the identity you already seized. Defeat is dreaded more than nearly anything in our civilization. We treat it like a stain that never disappears, a judgment on who we are. From youth, we are compensated for accuracy, penalized for errors, programmed to associate defeat with disgrace. So we mature frightened to attempt anything where the result is ambiguous. We shield ourselves through evasion, disguising dread as sensibility. We label our wavering timing, tactics, accountability, when actually it's the horror of falling inadequate. But here's the reality most individuals overlook. Defeat is not the contrary of triumph. It's interwoven into triumph like threads in material. No masterwork exists without alterations. No aspiration materializes without obstacles. Defeat is the entrance fee for excellence.